even if Bryan Singer didn't make the right decision by directing Superman Returns and passed the torch over to Brett Ratner. Am I the only one who liked The Last Stand? X-Men The Last Stand, directed by Brett Ratner, not Bryan Singer this time, as Bryan Singer chose to direct Superman the same year for some reason, and tells the story of the father of the mutant angel discovering his son is a mutant and he invents a cure, but Magneto and his Brotherhood will not stand for this, and Magneto forms an uprising to take down the cure and ensure that mutants reign supreme over humans. So, and meanwhile, Jean Grey, who we thought was killed off at the end of X-Men 2, returns and unfortunately has a growing power inside her, the Dark Phoenix, which she can't control. And it's up to Logan Wolverine to choose whose side he's on, as Jean is used by Magneto for destructive purposes. So, The Last Stand is going to be a very difficult movie to review. This is an odd one because this is by far the most hated of the original X-Men trilogy. I mean, almost everybody universally hates this film, and it is, along with Origins Wolverine, considered the worst X-Men movie ever made. Well, unsurprisingly, due to the fact that Bryan Singer left and Brett Ratner took over, which I don't know why that happened, but hey-ho. So, that being said, do I agree? Does this movie deserve the hate it gets? Honestly, I don't think it does. I like The Last Stand. Please don't hurt me if you hate this film, I totally understand, but I don't think this film is nearly as bad as people make it out to be. I think there's actually more to like about The Last Stand than there isn't. I don't think it's a bad film at all. I just think it's flawed. But I will start out by saying this is the weakest of the original three X-Men movies. This isn't as good as the first X-Men, certainly not as good as X-Men 2, but it's a decent end to this trilogy nonetheless, and let me explain why I think this film deserves a bit more credit than it gets. First of all, I like the opening. The opening is nice, so with Charles and Eric are going to visit Jean when she's a girl in her house. That was a nice bit of backstory, and I'm glad that this movie mainly focuses on Jean way more than the other two did. This is kind of her story, and I like, even though Angel doesn't serve any purpose in this movie, I will get to that a bit later on, but I think he does have a purpose in the opening, just for the opening, because his father did invent the cure, and once his father sees that his son has wings, that's understandable why he would want to, cure all mutants. Yeah, I like the opening training montage. That's great fun. I know it was a complete rip-off of the scene from Wrath of Khan and not done as well, but it was still fun, and I still love the characters and the cast this film. I love our X-Men team. I love Hugh Jackman still as Wolverine. He's completely confident in the role for his third outing, and he takes on a much more leader-like role this time, and even Halle Berry as Storm gets the most to do in this film, way more than she did in the previous two, which is great. And I love Iceman. Iceman's great, and great seeing Rogue back, and Kelsey Grammer as the Beast. He is freaking awesome. He looks brilliantly brought to life. He's freaking badass, and he's overshadowed due to the recent actor portraying the Beast in the rebooted X-Men trilogy. Granted, I love both Beasts, but Kelsey Grammer deserves more credit, and I also still love Patrick Stewart as Professor X, Charles Xavier. This is again one of his the best performances in the X-Men saga, and it is really sad, of course, what happens to him later on. And I love the villains of this film. The villains here, I think, are are an underrated aspect about this movie. I mean, Magneto, Eric Lencher, played by Ian McKellen. I mean, Ian McKellen, this is his best performance in the original X-Men trilogy. He goes all out into a Hitler-like villain. He's not taking a crap from the guy who invented the cure for mutants. He is rising up an army, and he's going to take down the humans by force. So we finally get to see Magneto truly put his plan to action. I love Pyro. Pyro is brilliantly done, and Vinnie Jones as the Juggernaut is pure cheese. But and he is kind of just there to be the muscle of the team. But he provides a great physical challenge all the same. And I love Famke Janssen as Jean Grey. She gives an Oscar-worthy performance in this film. This is her movie, and she outshines the entire cast in this film. I mean, I'm glad they brought her back and chose to have a movie focused primarily on her. It was a superb decision. Even if Bryan Singer would have done it better, it was still a great writing, and the love triangle between Jean, Logan, and Scott really comes into its own here. Even though whether Scott or Cyclops got the screen time he deserved, that's a matter I'll discuss a bit later. But anyway, I love the idea of the cure for mutants in this film, as my good friend Mr. TARDIS 11 pointed out. That it is continuing the great conflict and ideology between the mutants and the humans, and it really raises the stakes. It means there's going to be a war. The mutants are literally going to fight back for their right to survive. And the action in this film, say what you want about Brett Ratner's writing and the way he juggles story and characters, but the action in this film is incredible. It's amazing when it happens, especially the fight in the Grey House. That's the best action scene in the whole movie, and probably the defining moment of the film. It's really it's so intense. The music is incredible, and it's a really powerful moment when Charles is trying to reason with Jean, but sadly gets killed in the process. And I also extremely love the moment when Magneto is lifting the Golden Gate Bridge and brings it to the island. That is an underrated comic book spectacle, I think. And the final battle, though I have mixed feelings on, I can't deny, is still epic action wise, and I love Magneto's monologues in the action scenes where he's like, "They wish to cure us, but I say we are the cure. In chess, the pawns go first." Yeah, Ian McKellen gets some great lines in this film. The most compelling part of this movie's story is Logan having to come to terms with the fact that Jean has changed, and he must accept that he can't get her back. So in the climax where he has to stab Jean, it's a truly devastating moment. I didn't want him to do it, but of course, for the sake of the world, he didn't have a choice. And this movie's really ballsy. The fact that it killed off 3 of its main characters, literally 3 characters get killed off in this movie. I mean, that is very ballsy and ambitious indeed. I mean, that's an aspect that gets overlooked about this film. But I did say this wasn't a perfect movie. I did say it is the weakest of the original X-Men trilogy, and here's why I can understand people do not rate The Last Stand very high. First of all, Brett Ratner wasn't the perfect choice to direct this movie. I mean, his direction isn't as terrible as most say. He did the best he could. I mean, he did the action perfectly, but story and character-wise, his direction in that aspect is all over the place. He's really a director that does style over substance. If Bryan Singer directed this movie, and Bryan Singer really wishes he had done The Last Stand, then The Last Stand would have turned out, I think, so much better. And many of the characters are wasted in this film. I mean, while it is ambitious that it did kill off a free Cyclops, is completely wasted in the film. He only appears in the first act and the scene where he returns to the lake where Jean sacrificed herself, and then he gets killed off just like that. I'm like, is that it? Is that all we get of him? What wasted potential? And even Mystique, who was great in the first two X-Men movies, is also wasted as she takes the cure to save Magneto, and that's quite a thought-provoking moment where he's like, "I'm sorry, dear, you're not one of us anymore," and he just leaves her there, and then she realizes, oh, he doesn't give a shit about me. He just cares about his own plan and sees everyone else as dispensable. But after that, we never see her again in the rest of the film, so we don't get any resolution with her whatsoever. What the hell? And Angel, what was the point of Angel? What did he do or contribute to the film? The only thing he did contribute was that his dad invented the cure. He had a place in the opening and the climax where he saves his dad, but other than that, he's only in like one or two scenes in the middle of the film, and after he saves his dad, we never see him again either. We don't get any resolution with him either. So yeah, Angel could have really contributed more to this film if they were going to have him here. And not only that, but this film is too short. I mean, the first X-Men was also too short, but X-Men 2 is the perfect length, being 2 hours. Why the heck did Brett Ratner choose to have this only be an hour and 40 minutes? I mean, if this movie was over 2 hours, it wouldn't have felt as rushed, and it would have been paced so much more naturally. There are a couple of tonal inconsistencies. The tone can be all over the place, like after Charles's death, and Charles's funeral is very powerful, and Storm gives a beautiful, heartfelt speech, but after that they just cut to a romantic scene between Iceman and Rogue, which felt kind of tonally out of place. They really should have saved that scene for later on. And the sex scene between Wolverine and Jean, I understand they have feelings for each other, but that scene was completely over the top. Brett Ratner, you didn't need to show their affections for each other like that. But I can happily say that those, although I may have problems with this film, I overall enjoy it, and I can also give credit to John Powell's amazing, epic score. It really saves this movie, this soundtrack. I mean, and if Bryan Singer had directed it, then this movie would have done this soundtrack justice. So yeah, The Last Stand may not be perfect, and it could have been better, and Bryan Singer should have totally been the man for the job, but Brett Ratner did the best he could, and there's overall, I think, more to love about X-Men 3 than there isn't. At least it ended the trilogy on a decent note. I give X-Men The Last Stand 3.5 stars out of 5. Well, guys, I bet you weren't expecting a positive review for The Last Stand, and well, I can gladly say at least The Last Stand is better than Origins Wolverine. Oh God, help me, I'm gonna have to review that crap next time. Oh well. Chin up. Well, I love you guys, thank you all for watching, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and what do you think of The Last Stand? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. I love getting new subscribers, meeting new people, and talking to you guys about movies. Really appreciate that, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys.